So the Michael Horrocks Leadership Institute is a way for student athletes to really develop their own leadership style through different skills and tools that they learn. We have partnered with the Office of Student Leadership and Involvement over the course of the last decade or so to really build up the program from a couple of different workshops to what it is today. The Institute is named after Michael Horrocks, who was a student athlete on the football team back in the 80s. He was a captain and the quarterback. He led the team to a storied win over the University of Delaware. He tragically passed away on 9/11 as a pilot of one of the planes that crashed into the World Trade Center. So the Institute has 3 levels. The first one is called the Emerging Leaders Conference, which Courtney will talk about in a second. And the second one is called the Academy. And the third is CLASS, the Captain's Leadership Advancement Series. So I'll let Courtney talk about Emerging Leaders Conference.
Yeah, so the Emerging Leaders Conference is geared specifically to first-year student athletes as well as sophomore student athletes. Typically we have one in the fall and the spring. And basically it's a way to get first-year student athletes to get to know each other and really take that first step in leadership development. So we do a lot of activities, fun games, just to get them kind of working together and kind of understanding those building blocks to leadership.
So for the Emerging Leaders Conference, that's geared towards first and second year students. So in the past, we have done nominations from our coaches, and then they would sign up for the conference. So it's really geared to learning your leadership style from the beginning. The Academy is more of an application-based program. So in the first year, students learn about it in their first semester. In the second semester, they'll apply. It's limited to a smaller cohort, so we can have more individualized training sessions. So the first year they start developing their strategy or their leadership philosophy, and in the second year they really build it and how they're going to use it and direct it towards others, and then in the third year, in their final year, they really develop it and how they're going to use their philosophy beyond their years at Westchester. So the Academy is the application-based program. The CLASS, Captain's Leadership Advancement Series, is for our current captains or those that coaches think will be captains. So they are nominated for that program. There's one in the fall, one in the spring. So the fall is really for the spring student athletes, and in the spring is for the fall student athletes. Winter kind of goes where they may fall. And that's a 4-week series where they talk about conflict management. They do talk about leadership styles, but really how they can use their role as a captain on their teams, and they can work with other students on other teams to kind of see what works and what doesn't work.
So for these programs, we partner with the Office of Student Leadership and Involvement, which I also work for. So I've been able to work with athletics and SLI. And we kind of work together in order to provide these programs and do the activities that we do. So some examples is that we were able to get individually printed cards for each of our student athletes who came to do their individual values, so that they were able to physically see them and then take them back to them, and then they could take them to their teams. We also did like a lockbox activity. So really having the funding to provide these activities to really make it fun and for something for them to take back to their teams is really important in order to, drive the message home.
So I'd say 2 things. So student athletes, at the end of the Academy, there is a ceremony. So we have a dinner, we have a ceremony, and talk about all of the things they did for the past 3 years. And so that's really a great event. Everybody involved has really enjoyed that. Other students who've gone through CLASS have been able to use what they learned in CLASS to deal with some of the issues that has happened with teammate conflicts and things like that. So I think it's really been beneficial that way. But the other side, I've seen some of our coaches, talk to some of our coaches who maybe have had some either issues on their teams or they weren't winning, and then something's not right in the locker room, and then once you get the leadership in the locker room, things seem to turn around. So the attitudes and things like that have happened. So we've heard a lot from the coaching staff as well. Well, right now, I think it's an amazing resource for a limited number of student athletes. So what I really would love to see is for it to expand. So not all athletes are going to be able to dedicate the time to the Academy, but there's 600 athletes, and we need to reach more of them in some capacity. So while it is great that they can do the one-day Emerging Leaders Conference, I would really love to have more programming and more opportunities for other student athletes who, even if it's a one-day or a couple of different workshops, we would need more, help, probably human resources, facilitators, maybe bring in some speakers. So I'd really like to see it expand that way.
I think since this is geared to student athletes, it is very doable in terms of a commitment level. So we typically have these programs on Sundays, which don't conflict with a lot of athletic programming in terms of games, practices, and stuff like that. So since athletes help put these programs on, like myself and facilitators as well, we all have that athlete schedule in mind, so we try and make it as simple as possible in order for them to still make those commitments and stuff like that. So personally, I think it's very doable, and I've seen many of my teammates complete multiple of the programs.